I think what you have to be aware of is that when you look at the companies that are the solution providers for climate change, the companies that are driving decarbonization, that's just a very, very broad universe. And it spans not just renewable energy, which you've just touched on, but it also spans the electrification of transport, it spans energy efficiency, and of course, the hydrogen economy. And then you have to look at regulation by jurisdiction. And I suspect what EDP were talking about was the fact that Europe is absolutely, in recent years, lagging behind the US in terms of the pace of policy, the visibility of policy, and the level of incentives. So the Inflation Reduction Act passed in the US last summer was a really seismic piece of policy, and it has left the EU slightly scrambling to catch up. We've had Repower EU and Fit for 55 as, you know, on paper, very robust responses to the energy crisis brought on by the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But those policies have really been bogged down, I would say, in two things. Planning, which will continue to be an issue and is really, really difficult to solve in Europe, and a little bit of energy populism, which we've seen around the continent, you know, clawing back higher power prices and the profits from that, not just from fossil fuel providers, but also from renewable energy. On the other hand, in Europe, I would encourage you to look very closely at companies that are the beneficiaries of investment in energy efficiency. Because, of course, Europe, as a result of its reliance, about 35% of the gas in Europe comes from Russia. As a result of that reliance, has seen much, much higher power prices. And in some cases, you know, issues around potential availability of power, issues around availability of gas. And that has led companies to sort of finally address the low-hanging fruit in energy efficiency. And you've seen real demand destruction as well in terms of gas demand in Europe, which means that the continent, you know, unlike some of the more nervous forecasters, has survived the winter and looks pretty well set to survive next winter. So with all these things, the devil is in the detail. Investing in the solar index has never been a great way to pay decarbonisation, or the wind index. You really need to understand each sector, each country, and the weeds of the policies, which tend to be quite complex.